is NTV.
Brought to you by
owulira ng'onafuye oyagala okuddamu amaanyi nyola 9mm.
A very good evening and thank you for joining us on Sports Bar right here on NTV, and we are live from Club Silk, and tonight we talk the Uganda Cranes, who will be going to Zambia for an international friendly a few days after KCCA have taken on Uganda Red Devils in a CAF Champions League tie. We also talk volleyball, where the Lady Volleyball Cranes went to Nairobi for the FIVB World Championship qualifiers and in the process finishing 4th. What next for the ladies? We'll also talk basketball. Falcons Basketball Club making a few changes to ensure that they regain their lost glory. Can they achieve that? We'll look into that, as well as international football, where we will be reviewing the leagues in Italy, Spain and Germany together with England. Plus we'll also be previewing the UEFA Champions League. All that and much more coming up on NTV Sports Bar. Welcome back. My name is Patrick Kanyumos, and I have Brian, Tuka and Aisha Nasanga on an eventful Monday today, and of course we are here to talk sport. Nothing but sport, so we might not have time to talk about the legislation and everything, although sport has been dragged in one way or another. I've seen a plea by a certain group calling for Uganda's exclusion from the Commonwealth Games, and then I saw Pastor Simp on NTV tonight saying Uganda will qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations, or the Uganda Cranes will finally fare much better. Anyway, Brian, your highlight of the week.
I don't like people getting my stories before I can tell them, because that's where I was going to start. When you say we talk sport only, there is no way you can start sport when you know we are rarely on international networks. You know? We are there either for most of the cases for the wrong reasons. Today it could be wrong in the Western world. It's right, I think, in our country to start with. And we've all sat down there thinking, how can we qualify for the Nations Cup, probably World Cup? Semper has given us the answer. Now that the anti-homosexuality bill is, now it's a law, not a bill anymore. Now we know what the problem has been. Now we are heading there. I'm getting myself ready for the Nations Cup. Okay, and Aisha, have you been part of the bull roasting at National Theatre?
No, not quite. I've been feeling sorry for the ladies in Kampala who have been stripped because of the anti-pornography law that somehow manages to cover miniskirts that is not even in the whole. I mean, there's been so many laws passed in Uganda in the past couple of weeks.
We wanted you to talk about those things.
So if I come in one here,
don't defend.
You might just decide
be in relation to sport.
Yeah,
said we are going to the Nations Cup. Miniskirts.
We have miniskirts,
but
yeah, because
they have not attacked volleyballers. They cannot.
We have
volleyballers because there's enough security. And people who watch volleyball. No, people who watch volleyball are intelligent enough and wise enough not to do that. Okay,
I hope no one will be stripping Sheila at Lido Beach one of these days. But anyway, we have volleyballers joining us in the bar tonight. We have Stephen Omony, we have Patrick Gwayambade there, Colin Innocent, and Robert Madoy, the man who brings you rock and roll every Saturday. He's also sports producer at NTV.
How strong are you, by the since that show started?
How strong is he?
How can you host guys who are heavy? Do you need to work on yourself, man?
Well, at least Musoke is almost as small as you. Worry not.
No, Musoke is physically fit.
Anyway, let's get into the discussions, and we will start with KCCA FC, who will be going to Zambia for the CAF Champions League after ejecting Elmerick 3-2 on aggregate. They now take on Ghana Red Devils of Zambia, who ejected the Mbabane Swallows of Swaziland 5-4 on aggregate. The first game is going to be away in Kitwe. KCCA FC currently in camp at Nambole Stadium as they try to overcome that hurdle and move on to the next step in the CAF Champions League. Now, Aisha, to start with you, KCCA go into this with confidence, having picked up a win away in Khartoum.
Yeah, obviously they would feel a very good position to go on and and perhaps pick up a result from Zambia there. But I don't think they should take anything for granted. This is new opposition altogether. They might have beaten up on Elmerick, but I think going into the next fixture, it's a fresh slate for them, and they should prepare as much as they prepared for the Elmerick game, and they try to do that. As I understand, they've been in camp since the last time they played Elmerick, and they might have lost that one here, but had done enough by winning away from home. So I think they played a Uganda Cup game over the weekend against Kamocha. They seem to have won that one, but then back to camp for them. So it's down to preparations. If they make their preparations right, I think they can go and get a result in Zambia.
Definitely. Well, I'll be crossing over to Patrick Goyambade. You watched KCCA's game against Elmerick, the return leg. Now we know that the farther you progress, the harder the task becomes. Absolutely. Where do you think KCCA needs improvement, especially going into this tie against Nkana?
I was at the game at Namboole Stadium, and I just thought that the strikers were lacking in terms of movements of the ball. If they can improve on that, I had a chat with the head coach, and he told me that it's something that he identified himself, and I guess if I understand they're in camp right now, and it's up into preparation that they're supposed to be doing, I think they can go up there and get a result.
Okay, and Colin, well, you're a KCC fan. Probably, what would you want to see George Nsimbe change in that side to make it a more formidable force?
Dude is not just only a KCC fan. He's got very close ties with KCC. I can tell you, if there's anybody who's going to chip in if KCC don't have 200,000 shillings, one of them is him. So he's just not a fan.
Wrong information, maybe, but
maybe. Thank you very much.
I certainly think KCC have got to do some work to do with the fullbacks, number 2 and number 3. Considering lately the centre of the park seems to be a bit crowded, so you normally have to go and look for extra options in attack out wide, and that's the current actually game is actually opened up on either flanks. So we have to, a lot of work has got to be done with the Sakapim and Habib Kavuma in their forays going forward, but that has got to work well with the midfielders that have got to block those spaces once the fullbacks are up front.
Okay, and brothers, you come in on the attack against Elmerick, and Simbe went for Herman Wassa on one side, William Wadri, and then Tony Odul in the center, although it didn't seem to bring out the best from Herman Wassa.
To start with, I think before even going to what team they are going to play and where they need to change that, KCC have got a tougher test, the fact that they went past Elmerick. Each step you go past, the team that you're going to play next will give you more respect than they ordinarily would have given you. If Nkana had played KCC first, I don't think they would have given them some respect. Because they've taken out a team that is quite respected in Africa, they know they are going to play serious opposition. So they will come with a lot of respect and a lot of determination, which is going to be a bigger test for KCC for me. And they start away. 2, about the team and how it started is players. I think there are things that they got wrong and went away with because they won 2-0 away in Sudan. The truth is, I don't think Herman Wassa is suited to go through the wing. Herman Wassa is typically a box striker for me. A poacher who you create chances and will bury them. Odul, for me, is a better football player than Herman Wassa. So I feel he's got to change that. I know Odul may not want to go through that, and he's a very stubborn guy. I'm sure he's one of those, you tell Odul, this is how it's going to be. Go through the wing, let Herman go through the middle. Once they got onto the pitch, you will see Odul in the middle. He doesn't care about what the coach is saying. I think for me, they've got to play Herman Wassa through the middle because I feel that's what suits him best, and that's why he can produce his best through the middle. Play Odul on the other side. Whoever they can play on the other side, whether it's Majuega, William Wadri here, we'll wait and see. But all this is talk. There's got to be a better plan, I think, that they'll put in place.
Okay, well, Innocent itching to say something, but as Innocent comes in, probably I should remind you that you can also have your say. Join the discussion on Facebook and on Twitter. Go to our Facebook page, that's NTV Sports Bar, or you can also follow us on Twitter at NTV Sports Bar 1, so you can follow the discussion and have your say on everything that we discuss here. Yes, Innocent?
Quickly, Patrick, it's not you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that the Nkana Red Devils that KCCA are going to be playing are not the Nkana Red Devils of the 70s, of the 80s, they're not such a strong side. But with the recent with the storm that grew today, there's a mini storm brewing at between KCC, George Bestinsim and Mitchell, with Mitchell claiming that he needs 3 of Nsimbe's players. That is Ivan Tege, Tony Odu, and Brian Majoga for the Cranes friendly against Zambia. So if Nsimbe can come out boldly and win that mini battle, maybe the bigger cause will be won, because we're talking about Odu here. We don't know, will he play for the club, will he play for the country? So that country versus club rule is still brewing there, and Nsimbe needs to stand his ground, be firm, and get the backing from the likes of Colin.
The issue about the Nkana Red Devils being not the same side of the 70s, same will apply to KCC.
Yeah, but of course,
for starters, Nsimbe already said that the current KCC side is better than the KCC side that went on and even beat Super Sport.
Yeah, there was little difference. I mean, it's the same thing. Right now, when you say 70s, we'll talk about probably the KCC of the late 90s and the early 2000s. The Jackson Manja, Wuba Musika, and all those guys.
Yeah, probably the kind of that Innocent is talking about, the one that beat KCCA 6-0 on aggregate the last time these two sides met in 1992. Probably it's different, but this is a side. I saw Colin laughing.
Why you laughing at something? You don't regard the sides that big.
Well, Nkana Red Devils, Nkana Red Devils. And my take is that Zambian football has been on a high for a while. And you tend to think it's going to have to rub off on Nkana Red Devils' performances. The 5-4 result.
I think they came from 3 goals down.
Yeah, from 3 goals down. That alone shows the test of character.
Yeah, well, if they were able to concede 4 goals,
that same opposition talk about Robert scored 3 goals at their home ground, and they had to, and Nkana had to work probably 5 times more to overturn that result.
Anyway,
you can't take it for granted, you know.
Yes, Robert. Finally, finally, Robert.
For me, if your defense leaks goals against opposition from Swaziland, you know, it's not that intimidating. I think this is not the Nkana Red Devils of old. KCC should go into this match, you know, believing that they have what it takes to get one up on the Zambians. But just picking up on what Tuka said, Brian, about Haman Waswa being used, you know, on the flanks. It's an interesting observation, that, because if you remember when he was at AC Villa and no, Coach Mike was actually coaching Villa, He played him a lot on the wings, and I don't know what the coaches see in him. I don't know if it's the pace or if it's but they normally prefer, you know, to play him out.
Yeah, but he never enjoyed playing there. Of course, it's one thing you play enjoying. Players always want to play whatever. It's the coach to decide.
Yeah. Anyway, exactly. We have to leave KCC FC at that. They will be playing Nkana on Saturday. That's in Kitwe, and then the return leg will be on the 8th of March at Nambole Stadium. Meanwhile, Innocent talked about it briefly. 3 KCCA players have been summoned to the national team, the Cranes. As KCCA will be leaving Zambia, the Cranes will be getting in for that international friendly on the 5th of March. The Cranes up against the Chipolopolo of Zambia. Now today, the technical committee of FIFA released a 25-man squad that will be involved in this game. An interesting one. Of course, there are some notable absentees to start with. The guys that played at Chan, Sentamu has no place on the team. And well, the technical committee went probably for more experienced strikers. There's Tony Odul, there's Mokwi, Hames Diego Chiza, Dan Serunkuma, and Geoffrey Massa, who has not scored since early December for his club, the University of Pretoria. But there's no place for Sentamu, just like there is no place for Savio Kabugo, who played at Chan 2014. Well, let's start from there. Robert Madoy, your take on the omission of, more especially Sentamu. Do you think it might break this young man's spirit in one way or another?
No. I don't think it will break his spirit. I think this is one of the things that we have been doing as in Ugandan football, rushing kids who are up-and-coming players into the national team. Making them, play for the national team when they are not ready, and with time, it affects them and they fizzle out. I think what we should be looking at doing is a very young boy, he's 19. Fine, he brought his A game during the Chan. He's 19.
You say 19?
I'm not his mother.
No, I wanted you to go back. Once you say It brought me memories of Jose Minala. I love that man.
No, but clearly his face is markedly different from that of Minala. But yeah, once if we have these youth teams in place, we can easily slow track these kids into the national team. I think throwing Sentamu into the deep end when he's 19 and expect a lot from him, it adds that weight of burden onto his shoulders, and somehow it affects his game.
But Robert, would you say the same about Savio Kabugo, because he's also 19?
Well, he was also omitted. Well,
yeah,
I would say the same. Again, Patrick, I know where you're going with this subject of age and all. And once again, I won't say I'm not the parents of these people. So we'll take their age, albeit with a pinch of salt. I think what we should be doing, and I'll still insist, is that we should be slow tracking these people into the national team. Kasaga, yes, is also 17, is it, or 18 or thereabouts, but he's on the team. I think Mitchell went with him because he's a little bit mature in the way he plays and in his thoughts. So he thought, you could even look at someone like Ivan Intege. Although these people, I don't think if they'll make the final 18 squad, because the competition is it's really big. I don't think.
Okay, and there's a problem now. How do you weigh this out? The issue of continuity, but also not trying probably
putting a lot of burden on them.
Exactly, to throw a lot of burden and maybe risk actually the boy blowing himself up. Because the thing is, who at Chan, you cannot tell me you choose a team without some of the players who are key at Chan. It didn't add up for me.
But Tuka,
what I'm saying,
if you're talking of continuity, are we going to throw Sekafa out of the window? Because Dan Serunkuma himself had put his best foot forward.
Yeah, exactly. No, but my issue is, how do you evaluate these things? How exactly are we going to be selecting? Because today we are choosing this.
The master whom we are maligning, much maligned, is by the way, like it or not, this guy is going to be a permanent fixture in the Queen squad. Massa, because he's the embodiment of a true out and out centre forward, and in this day and age where we're playing with one centre forward, I think you need someone who is big, gangly, someone who will play with their back facing the goal, and this is something.
Okay, well, to start with, I think the rest of the world are doing that.
Well, Robert, as I come to Colin as a chip in, there's no place for Hassan Waso as well. He played at Chan. And then the other issue also related to KCCA. You call up 3 KCCA players. KCCA are playing on the 1st. This game is on the 5th. They have a return leg on the 8th. I mean, what's the essence of calling them up?
Well, I think it's time immemorial. There's always been this country club kind of wrangles. But coming from the player's perspective, I think you would rather choose KCC. Feature for KCC and later on go to the Cranes game, rather Cranes set up a little later, because one is that KCC are in competitive football and the Uganda Cranes just a build-up game. But
there will be too many games, 3 games in about 10 days.
Absolutely, and that's they are likely to face a burnout if you like. But then again, you want to question the Uganda Cranes setup here. What is their agenda really? Are they trying to build up on what they did at Chan? Are they trying to prepare for a different tournament coming ahead? What are the likely kids that are going to be thrown in the ranks? How do you call Massa when he's been 1 year out? What exactly is the agenda? My biggest question lies therein.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, because Eunice does not have to play if you call him up. Eunice has got to be part of the setup, and I think we've seen so many that the countries where we admire all these things, you bring Eunice, let him be part of, probably bring 2 senior players, let him learn.
Anyway,
that's precisely
did you say cross generation what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Robert is right.
We're going to cross this
anyway, we need to wrap this up. But the goalkeepers, Denis Onyango, Roberto Donkara, Ismail Watenga, then you have Dennis Siguma, Nicholas Wadada, Godfrey Walusimbi, Alex Kakuba, Henry Kalunji, Isaac Isinde, Andrew Mwesigwa, Richard Kasaga, and Joseph Ochaya. And then you have Maweje Tony, Aucho Khalid, Geoffrey Chizito, and Tege Ivan as the central midfielders. Then there's Oloya coming back, Chizito Luaga, Matovu Sula, Brian Majwega, Maso Geoffrey, Emmanuel Okwi. Those are the guys that we already talked about. And there is a place for the two Portuguese best players, Alex Kakuba and Chizito Luaga.
The thing is, Patrick has gotten, Patrick handles an academy. He's been part of one or two probably setups. You've seen what happens probably in the countries that are better than us. How exactly do you handle such a situation? Because there's a 19-year-old boy who's done well. They say they don't want him to burn out. Then how do you juggle that?
Yeah, Patrick, briefly before we go into that break.
I think my colleague there mentioned it. There's a lack of a system in a country like ours. Other countries have created systems that has enabled them to kind of like progress players through the ranks. And that's missing here. And I've always said that for as long as we don't have a system that allows players to kind of like, it helps the head coach to call up one or two players, come and integrate with the first team and then so on and so forth. But for as long as we don't have that, we'll be struggling.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Like I said, you can have your say on Facebook and on Twitter. Our handle is at NTV Sports Bar 1 and the page is NTV Sports Bar on Facebook. Go on and like the page. You will be able to post your comment there. When we come back from the break, we'll be reading some of your comments. Plus, we bring volleyball from the FIVB World Championship qualifiers. We talk basketball and then, of course, a roundup of the major European footballing action right here on NTV Sports Bar in proud association with 9mm Energy Drink. That's why the energy levels here are really high. It's a break. We'll be right back.
Basano ne banyabo kano ke kasera ke tubadde tulindiridde round 1. Bannaffe tubeetondera oluwalo olusooka terugenze bulungi naye kati kabamu ku kyokunywa ekizaamu amaanyi 9mm tulabe binaddirira second round. Owulira ng'onafuye oyagala okuddamu amaanyi nyola 9mm. 9mm, let energy do the work.
Tomorrow night.
So, what did you find out about Constanza? Are they finished with her? Was she taken to her room?
Shh, listen to me carefully, Gabriella. There's no time to lose. No matter what happens, don't stop acting crazy.
What are you talking about?
Don't let them see you talking.
Attention, I need help. This is the passenger speaking. The pilot passed out. I think it's a heart attack. The plane is crashing.
You don't know what happened?
No, I don't. What happened?
Norma's been murdered. It was Leo.
Tomorrow night.
Welcome back. This is NTV Sports Bar right from Club Silk and we're powered by 9mm Energy Drink. Well, my name is Patrick. I have Bran, Ash, and the entire crew here. Well, as we go into the next discussion, briefly, your tweets. Chionga says, I agree with Bran and Simbe and KCCFC can only get the best out of Haman Waso when played central. To Simbe, Derek says, thanks for the show. Thanks for the show. And of course, the good-looking Aisha. Okay, interesting. Anyway, you can also join us on Facebook and give your comments on everything that we talk about here as we go into volleyball. Now, the Lady Volleyball Cranes went to Nairobi, Kenya for the FIVB World Championship qualifiers. There was only one slot to go to the World Championships in Italy. Uganda finished 4th. Well, they started on the wrong note, losing to Kenya. They bounced back to beat Seychelles, went on to beat Mozambique, lost to Tunisia, and lost to Senegal in the final game, which ensured that Uganda finished 4th, Senegal were 3rd, Kenya 2nd, and Tunisia were the #1 nation, and they will go on to play at the World Championships in Italy. With us is Sheila Omuiwe, who is a senior player on the team, a libero there, and we also have Florence Daniel, who is a team manager and also a member of the coaching team. And these ladies surely are in position to tell us what could have gone wrong, or probably the lessons that they learned from there. Let me start with you, Sheila, before you pass on the microphone to Florence. Uganda lost to the teams that were, of course, favorites going into this tournament. Was it a mindset? Did we lose this psychologically, or they were extremely better than us?
Okay, Sheila, before you speak, feel confident. You did well. You didn't embarrass us, so do not pass on the mic. So speak. It's okay, we'll be
I'm
good.
not embarrassed.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so
I don't think it was a mindset. I think all of us were ready to go and give our best. We knew there were some, the 3 teams that we thought we had to really fight with definitely beat us, but not that we went there thinking they're going to beat us. We got there. Personally, I thought I was going to find huge Senegalese girls, the off style and so on. They were pretty big, but we went out to hang with them and see how far we can go with them. Unfortunately, our first game, which was Kenya, we didn't play as we should have played. We don't normally play our first games well. We need to figure out how we're going to fix that. But for the Senegal team especially, I think we really gave it a fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Florence, from your point of view, where does Uganda need to improve to match the likes of Senegal, Tunisia, and Kenya?
Well, my answer to that would have been something that may be hard to do, which is our heights in Uganda. But since
we have to wait for another generation, right?
We have to pick from the generation we have. Right now, we thought that these are the tallest people we have in the game that we actually took. But when we got there, we were dwarfed by the Senegalese. The Kenyans are still quite taller than us. But other than that, our game skill, everything was good. And I think we just need to practice some more. The team we had was young. I've been hearing people talking about generations and all that. We used to mix old players and young players, but this time round they actually chose younger players, 5 of whom are actually going to represent Uganda again next month in the under 23s. So it is we are building. We are building on something now. Maybe it is continuity, because if you look at Kenya, they last represented, the players that played this time round last represented again in 2007. They are the same players that were on the team this time round. And for Uganda, it was a completely new team. Completely new team that was set up a few months ago, like 6-7 months ago. And they have actually moved us to a level where Uganda had never moved in the game of volleyball.
Patrick, I'd love to bring in Steve Axel about something she said. I'm sure you're smiling when you heard us saying, okay, unfortunately we cannot make them taller. You guys are smaller. The Uganda national team.
I thought you were going to ask Steve to.
No. Maybe Steve can have 1 or 2 things to say, advice to the volleyballers, because clearly
on how to be tall.
No, Steve, you guys are small. You played in competitions where guys are much bigger than you, probably the Rwandese and Kenyans and something like that. How do you handle such a situation? Now they talk about going taller, but I'm sure you can always cover up for your height.
Well, first of all, I would like to think that the ladies did their best, and I think we should be proud of them. And things about those are natural factors. Height, you can't buy height, but we can try to breed taller players with time. We can't do a lot about that. However, I believe every time you play, you representing your country is a privilege. So when you go there, out there, you give it your best all the time. And I believe once we keep pushing, even with these big teams, we'll get there gradually.
Okay, well, Innocent, before you come in, back to you, Flores. We talk about this team. Of course, it's the future. But again, how do you keep them in the game? Because we all know that for ladies, as they grow, probably their preferences or their priorities change on what they want to do in life. How do you keep them in the game? Someone who is very eager on playing volleyball at 23 might not have the same zeal at 25 or 27.
Okay, like we know, Uganda started having a volleyball league a few years back, and within this league we have different clubs. Within the clubs we try to play competitively, and within the clubs we try to maintain these players as good as they are, so that we all win. We all want to win. So the competitions we have now in the league are quite tight, because we have enough teams to go around and compete with each other. But then on top of that, for the girls that we have now, we have many more championships to prepare for. We have the Olympic qualifiers, we have the World Cup qualifiers, we have the Zone 5, all those are on the plate. So in as far as the competition will be going on in the league, we shall be training the national team as well as taking them for these additional championships. So the next World Championship qualifiers, I know we shall be in a better position.
What was your overall view about the whole tournament? How you played and how you tried matching the other guys? Because I think from what I saw, your worst game must have been against Tunisia. Second set, 25-8. That was a beating. So what exactly was the overall view? I mean, did you go there and say, okay, we're going to face these guys tougher than us, we can learn one or two things. Now that it's done, where do you go on from here?
I think from the whole overview, what I saw, our players are becoming better and better. We used to go for these competitions and would never leave the first stage. But this time round, we've gone through all the 3 stages up to the end and at least got a ranking. We were 4th in our group. We don't know what happened in the other group at the moment. But I think overall, by the end of the year, we can say out of the 14 teams that compete, topmost 14 in Africa, we could be around the 8th position. So I think we have done well in terms of volleyball, and the federation is still doing a lot in terms of growing the game from the primary level, secondary. I think we shall get there in terms of volleyball, but we need more support.
All right, and finally on this issue, Innocent, you're going to wrap it up.
Quickly, kudos to the lady volleyball cranes for first and foremost the managers for making sure that volleyball goes back to the international scene after a 6-year lull. That was painful for volleyball not to be able to mobilize and get fresh stuff going on. But quickly, one and two to Sheila and Flores. Quickly, Sheila, I thought after that boot camp we had in Netherlands 2 weeks there, thanks to the assistant coach, maybe Bart Morton, we could have picked a set. You know, I always believe you could be beaten, but you lose honorably. Thought we could have picked a set against Kenya, the first game, which you say we don't know how to start tournaments, and Tunisia and Senegal. That hurt me as a person who loves volleyball to the bone. And then also
you are hurt.
Yeah, the politicking.
I have so many things.
Unfortunately, we might not have time to respond.
That emotional.
Let's go with the first one. Let you react to that, and then we can leave this.
Okay. The trip.
He was hurt.
Innocent, we apologize for hurting your feelings and not winning a set against Tunisia and Kenya. About the Netherlands trip, it was a build-up for this tournament. The whole point of taking us actually was for us to play teams we've never played before, so that people get out of that antsy, you don't know who you're going to play, you've never seen them before. Unfortunately, we came back and had a 1-week vacation here. On second thought, when we got to Nairobi, we're like, probably we should have just stayed there for 3 weeks and flown over there. But I don't think it was, I mean, we call it fast game shivers or whatever, but against Kenya, I mean, they knew we had been in camp. If we had played them last, they knew what would be coming for them. Because as they go on in the tournament, they also get sluggish. So they did bring out the power fast, and that's why they chose to play us fast. Unfortunately, we didn't hang in there to hang with them. For Tunisia, honestly, I can't sit here and defend anything. They served us tactically those first 2 sets. By the third set, as we were coming down and trying to get our feet on the ground, it was a little bit too late, but we honestly gave 100%.
Yeah, well, definitely, well, the Lady Volleyball Cranes, they are finishing 4th at the FIVB World Championship qualifiers. Probably they will go a step better next time. We'll have to move to basketball. And, well, there were a few changes that were made by Falcons Basketball Club. You know, the Uganda basketball story cannot be complete without Falcons Basketball Club. And among the changes that were made at the club was bringing in a new chairman, Kagoro, who will be taking over. And then Samo Ball will be coach of the team, together with Stephen Omony, who will be a member of the technical committee. But I understand will also continue as captain and a key player on this Falcons side. And, well, Steve has already talked about volleyball. Now we get to the gist of the matter. That's Falcons and the changes that were made. Is this all that Falcons needed to get back to where you belong?
I think we decided, we've actually been in transition since last year, and we sat down and decided that we needed to have a new direction in the way we run our business at the club. And it's a mentality that I think many teams need to change. We need to move away from this briefcase management system that we have in our clubs in Uganda, and then basically decentralize authority, you know, and have different wings that can help the smooth running of teams. So it is something that we decided upon, and we are embarking on it. And the changes that we see today, we are going to lay down strategies. We have 5-year plans. We are really looking to the long haul of the club, and yeah, we'll work and get there.
Okay, and well, at the press conference to announce the changes, well, the chairman insisted that the Falcons has let go of only 2 players, Jeff Omondi and Shaq. So the other players, if they are going to stay, like the chairman was saying, which kind of players are you looking at bringing into the side?
I think right now, all I can say is that there's 2 players that have been released, and it's a policy that we've also decided at the club. You know, we need to do things in a formal way and have an organized system through which we even release players and acquire players. We've had like usually transfer seasons that are usually full of speculation. I think we have rumors flying left, right and center. However, we'd like to do things in a formal way, and like we said at the press release, we will definitely inform you guys, the press, the general press, the media at large, that about any changes that we have and about the players that we are going to acquire. I think we have laid down a list of guys that we're looking at and we're targeting, so we are in talks right now with a couple of people.
Well, let me ask Steve, isn't that going to be too much work for you? You're part of the technical committee, you haven't had an assistant coach, Samo Ball is head coach, so I'm seeing you as an assistant too. How? And then you start, you're almost the face of Falcons at the moment. They're franchise players, if you want to call it so. How are you going to handle these responsibilities?
You've been doing all those duties as
I know he's not been doing.
Let me make a couple of corrections here. I think Sam is the coach. I'm not the captain of the team. Peter Lungati is.
I know, okay, actually, yeah, okay.
And I'll only help in when I'm called upon. I'm only a player at the moment, and I'll just advise and share roles here and there. But I'm not actively involved in any other role other than playing at the moment.
Okay, interesting.
I know that's for the TV purposes, but you know,
actually somebody told me that at one point Steve was even acting chairman. Interesting stuff. But Steve,
I would like to know your sources.
But honestly, have those players who have been amidst this whole speculation, have they finally been tied to Falcons?
Well, I think, as you very well know, teams, are involved in player negotiations towards the end of seasons, the contracts and reviews and all that. You basically have to see and weigh whether you can keep a player or not. However, we are keen on keeping all our players that we can, and it's not our policy to hold on to any player that wants to leave if we cannot meet their demands. So I believe if there's a player that wants to leave or has decided to leave, we will let you know, and we'll have business as usual.
But let me, as a team, you finished beaten finalists 2 years in a row now. Where exactly are your targets now? Because if you say you've changed chairman, you want to build on one or two things, you've talked about a 5-year plan. As a team that has got into the finals, and as a team that Falcons is just not any other team, probably record champions in the league. Are you going to look back and say, okay, it's okay, we don't have to win the championship this season, let's go and get one or two players? Because even the players you're looking at starting from, you're good to go. I mean, if you have Piero, you have yourself, and you have Serge Kabangu, even Dukes. It's a team that can actually think of winning a championship. Which ones?
Have you already?
Yeah,
obviously, Steve. They are Falcons players.
Well, I'd like to say, Brian, that everybody on that team is capable, and we've proven it 2 seasons in a row. We've been finalists. We are just making a few adjustments that we definitely need to make, and then we'll definitely look at the championship. That's where we want to be, and we hope to be. But as you know, sports is sports. We give it our all every day, and we see where we can go.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Stephen Omonya. He's also captain of the national team. We'll have to go.
He's not captain of Falcons.
He's not captain of Falcons, but he's captain of the national team.
His role is bigger than captain.
Anyway,
Piero is captain.
Piero is the captain. So we'll have to take that break. When we come back from the break, it's going to be purely football, and we'll be talking European football. We will do all the reviews quickly and also try to review the UEFA Champions League. Plus, we will continue reading some of your posts on Facebook as well as the tweets.
Wondered how much Roycom Choosy Mix you need to make the most delicious stew? It's simple. Just add 1 full tablespoon to every stew.
At last, the perfect stew. All you need is 1 tablespoon for 1 perfect stew.
Well, welcome back. This is NTV Sports Bar. We are coming to you live from Club Silk in the proud association with 9mm Energy Drink. Well, you can have one that is sugar-free. That's if you like something like this. Interesting. Well, we get to the European football, but Aisha, briefly, anything that you can take us through before we get to the European footballing scene?
Not quite a lot happening on Facebook and all. A couple of people mentioning their highlights from over the weekend. Robert Seguja Yanuzai. There are so many Yanuzais these days. Madrid clinging onto the La Liga and Bayern's continued performance to get to the Bundesliga. And Kevin Nolan's goal against Southampton. That's something that stood out for him. Billy John Graham saying Arsenal's 4-1 win against Sunderland and Spurs losing against Norwich, meaning that United is getting to that 6th place position. Tariq Ismail saying Rooney's contract signing, big money for him, and Gabi Ramos saying the big team's performance in the English Premier League and the Spanish La Liga and how it's turning out so far.
Okay, and on Twitter someone says he's afraid one of Ronan Bugula or Moses Golola will take 9mm, hoping for a better show on the 7th of March. Well, it's good for them. I think it will go down to the amount. Whoever takes more will carry the day.
And we may have to be forced to support the one taking 9mm.
Yeah, 9mm there. Anyway, we go to the European footballing scene, and we will start in Germany, where Bayern Munich, well, I don't think at this point anyone can catch them. They can actually be champions by the 29th of March. They were 4-0 winners over Hanover yesterday, and the guys that are doing the chasing altered Dortmund losing to Wolfsburg or to Hamburg as Wolfsburg beat Bayer Leverkusen. But interestingly, well, Colin, briefly here, the fact that it's already decided at the top, it brings an interesting fight for Champions League places, because you have Leverkusen on 43, you have Dortmund on 42, you have Schalke somewhere there, and you also have Wolfsburg.
Yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting race, considering Dortmund have been dogged by injury. You tend to think that if Dortmund were the Dortmund of, say, 2-3 years ago, they would be about 6 or 4 points behind the German champions now. But Wolfsburg themselves have got to fancy themselves after having one hell of a season, especially in since November. They've been playing excellent football, and there's going to be a fight right there. But that said, Bayern Munich have been all conquering, have not lost a game in the season, and maybe the Bundesliga is boring now.
Okay, well, quickly to the Italian Serie A, the game that is on, Napoli are leading Genoa 1-0. That game is on. They are into the 25th minute, while the game that just ended, it was 2-2 between Parma and Fiorentina. But elsewhere in Italy, Juventus beat Torino 1-0, Carlos Tevez with a goal, and then AC Milan beat Sampdoria 2-0, Rami and Tarat with the goals for Milan, while Lazio beat Sassuolo 3-2. In some of the other action, Roma before that had beaten Bologna 1-0, Nangolan with the goal, and well, Juve in the process maintaining a 9-point lead at the top of the Serie A. While in Spain, Real Madrid have a 3-point lead at the top after they won their game, and Barcelona were beaten by Real Sociedad 3-1, while Osasuna beat Atletico Madrid 3-0. That's how the situation is like in Spain. While moving on to England, there was not much difference at the top four as they all won their games. Chelsea winning 1-0 against Everton, winning it late, and then Manchester City beating Stoke 1-0, Arsenal 4-1 over Sunderland as Liverpool beat Swansea 4-3, and in an interesting game. And then Spurs remain fifth despite losing to Norwich 1-0. Manchester United moved into 6th position with that 2-0 win over Crystal Palace. Everton are 7th, although they have a game in hand. And well, Aisha, Manchester United were finally moving after being in 7th position for a very long time.
Almost 4 months. It's not looking good for them. But yeah, and moving, and the points, it's just the goal difference that separates the two sides. But it's a move all the same. I'm sure for Manchester United fans like Innocent here, would be happy with any sort of move, but coming up pretty well, especially on the back foot of Wayne Rooney and that contract, and how much influence he's still going to have amongst this team, because it pretty much looks like this has got to be his team, and he's got to be the one leading it all throughout. Very inspired in this particular one, and going on to even score a goal like in that particular game against Crystal Palace. So for Manchester United, if they can scrub through a couple of more wins back to back, and pray and hope that Spurs keep on dropping points, perhaps they can get back into those positions for Champions League. But I think it's going to be very difficult.
I think the United win was beyond the 3 points. The truth is, I think Saturday's performance was, for me, the best I've seen United, not in terms of being so, I think, good going forward or defensive or anything. For the first time, I saw United trying to play something. You could see they're trying to do something. All these games they've even won, even if it was Bayer Leverkusen, put it in the wing, go out. But you could see that actually there's movement between Juan Mata, Robin Van Persie, and Wayne Rooney. You could see they're trying to create something, because I can tell you that Crystal Palace team, Man City could only afford 1 goal at the Etihad. Same Arsenal had to fight hard to score 2 against Crystal. They've been doing well, and they were actually sort of ordinarily the other United teams I've seen, they would decide to force the issue, go wide, cross the head back. But you could try to see that actually maybe the Dubai break did some great wonders. Meeting Maradona, because you could see United were trying to do something. I must say I was very impressed with United over the weekend.
Okay, well, and of course of the sides that lost in the Champions League, Arsenal bounced back in spectacular fashion, beating Sunderland comfortably. Manchester City struggled, but they eventually beat Stoke. Sheila, probably by the time Arsenal were playing Sunderland, probably you were on your way back to Uganda, but I understand you're a Ghana. And do you still think Arsenal can go on and win the Premier League? They are currently 2nd.
Please do not hold me at the end of the season, Innocent. But I think so. I always say
supposed to be third minimum.
Ghana for life. So whatever happens, we'll still back up the boys. But
You're a typical Ghana fan.
So
the way of someone else, whatever happens, because she knows at the end of the day, they are going to be third or fourth.
Okay, Robert Mato, briefly, that Chelsea win, a hard-fought win over Everton, and sometimes they say that these are the kind of games that you need to win if you're going and be champion.
Yeah, apparently, hallmark of a champion is to win even when you're not playing well. I thought Everton really played well against Chelsea. Leon Osman was causing Chelsea lots of problems, but somehow they stole it at the end of it. You know, this is a typical Mourinho performance, you know, never giving up, backing yourself up even when the odds are against you. And I think it's ominous to the chasing pack. I'm not saying that because I'm a Chelsea faithful. Many people forget
Chelsea
the fact that I also support Newcastle.
No, you cannot support them. You're only for one.
But the chasing pack must be really worried because Chelsea has they've really kicked into their stride at the home stretch. And it's looking ominous.
Definitely, and of course that Liverpool-Swansea game was one interesting game, 4-3, and Liverpool have been scoring lots of goals, although I think they will need to check their backline.
They've conceded more goals than any Premier League side directly from their own mistakes.
Yeah,
well, any other Premier League.
Martin Scato, what did you expect?
Kolo in there in the mix.
Kolo Toure and Martin Scato. Well, because of time, we will quickly move away from the Premier League and take a look at the UEFA Champions League, the games that were played. Before we look at the games coming up tomorrow and on Wednesday, well, PSG went to Bayer Leverkusen and won 4-0. Atletico Madrid went to the San Siro and won 1-0. And then, well, Barcelona beat Manchester City 2-0 as Bayern beat Arsenal 2-0. Well, Patrick Goyamba, we talk about the UEFA Champions League. There's an interesting debate that was brought up that probably brings into question the quality of the English teams. Given that Arsenal and Manchester City, who are supposed to be the cream of English football right now, can suffer such defeats at home.
Well, you just put me on the spot there, but it's not a question of the quality of football, as Brian will explain to you later on, because he kind of like watches more football than me. But it's just, I think it's just a bad day for the English teams, and if things can be put in perspective, maybe they will do better next time.
Okay. Well,
there's been so much debate about the leagues and stuff like it's very unfortunate. Bayern Munich beating Arsenal, Barcelona beating Manchester has totally got nothing to do with the English Premier League, the La Liga and the Bundesliga. Totally nothing. It's about the big teams in Spain being better than the teams that were in England. To start with, Man City is the first time at the knockout stages. It's never easy. It doesn't matter which players you have. I mean, they could have had a David Silva here. Yeah, Toure is a different player from he was in Barcelona. Now is an influential player rather than just being part of a team that is winning and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things you felt they got one or two things wrong in terms of tactics. I felt Man City gave a lot of respect to Barcelona. For Arsenal, you never know, you just never know what that penalty could have done if it goes in. And then they get a red card off the other side. I felt, I mean, the referee followed the rules. He didn't mind about the most important rule, which is common sense. Give a guy a yellow card, give a penalty, you go on. He didn't, but it has nothing to do with those leagues. I don't know why there's all this.
Okay, Colin, finally,
I think a lot more is down to the briefing decisions that never went their way. But I don't think the City and Arsenal are supposed to be slaughtered for losing to Bayern and Barcelona. In all honesty, those two are the
and you talk about
best clubs in the world.
You talk about the refereeing decisions. Do you think the results would have been different?
Well, for example, Arsenal should have taken their chance with the penalty under Ozil, and thereabout you tend to think the position would be different right now, but they didn't, and then Bayern got lucky with such a refereeing decision in a position where you think a red card was a bit harsh.
Okay.
But even the tactical notes of a certain thing, how do you take off Santi Cazorla in such a game? What are you doing?
Anyway, we have to leave those games and look at the games that are coming up tomorrow. A troubled Dortmund side travels to Zenit St. Petersburg. Zenit are top of the Russian league together with Lokomotiv Moscow, and Dortmund have a number of injury concerns there, and of course their form has not been that convincing, Aisha, and you think that going to Russia in that state is disaster for them probably.
Well, anyone who's been in Russia in the past couple of weeks perhaps knows that there's been all this hype about Sochi and the whole Winter Olympics happening. So perhaps that atmosphere is still there and people are still interested in sport and all, and you think the crowds will be there. But somehow Dortmund have still managed to hold their own when it has come to, they had the crowds for the Winter Olympics.
Apart from the ice hockey game, I think which other crowds were there? Start with it was Sochi and I think St. Petersburg are far away from each other.
You hope that they've fairly performed well when it comes to Europe. Somehow their form at home has not affected how they've performed in Europe so far. But the injuries are coming in thick and fast. Do you think that perhaps that could affect them?
I think Dortmund think about the Champions League now more than they did. But we had actually something like that. Think about the league? Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan, I think, Robert Lewandowski were all in that team. That was battered actually 3-0 by Hamburg. Was in Hamburg?
Yeah.
They had a good team out there. I felt that is almost the same team that is going to start. Okay. Why they couldn't perform, I don't know.
Okay, well, Aisha talks about a team that has not been doing well on the domestic scene but has looked better in Europe. The same applies to Manchester United, who tomorrow visit Olympiacos. Olympiacos, just like Zenit, are top of their league. Well, just goal difference separates them from PAOK Salonika. And, Innocent.
They are unbeaten in the Champions League.
Innocent, David Moyes takes his Manchester United to Olympiacos, and of course that win over Crystal Palace must have come at the right time, although United have done much better in Europe.
You would like to think that Manchester United are odds-on favourites to win tomorrow. Because of what's happening at United currently, we have a happy Rooney. When Rooney is happy, the white Pele, people
who would be happy if you're getting 1.2 billion euro shillings away?
Well, if you're getting theoretical, I thought it's a bit mean on his side, but well, you can't fault him. He took his unlucky to be born in Uganda and then be born in Uganda. If he was there, I love you for saying that. You never know, because I was such a good. This team got Uganda problems. If you haven't gotten any problem.
Anyway, Innocent. Innocent, ignore Tuka.
But well, you have to give it to Moyes. I think the side, first and foremost, if you have a unit that is playing for the coach, the results do come in. Like Tuka said, picking up from the result against Palace over the weekend, you saw United that was well-oiled, like that machine, the Mamba. Robert knows it from the South Africans pushing rugby training, the Mamba. You like to think that Van Persie is back, Rooney is there, and happy, he has the money, he can show us the money, and I believe Manchester United is odds-on favourite to go on and win, and that's what the United fans will be cheering up that Man U can actually pick up these results, because these results will also reflect on how they go on and perform in the last in the business band of the Premier League. Go and push for a place.
That's United against Olympiacos tomorrow in the Champions League. As I come to you, Robert Madoy, David Bagzim Wonge on Twitter says, Robert Madoy, typical Mourinho style. Mr. Chelsea has spoken. Anyway, Chelsea go to Galatasaray tomorrow.
Yeah, very difficult match it will be. Galatasaray, no pushovers. They have Didier Drogba who can hurt you. The Chelsea defense, although it's John Terry has returned a bit of stability to the side, you tend to think they are weak, when they're defending set pieces, and that's with the Drogba's area pro.
Exactly. Do you know what that means? If you say set piece and you're not defending and you're playing against DJ Drogba, you're in big time trouble.
Yeah, you're in big time trouble. So it will be interesting to see how Mourinho lines up the team. Whether David Luiz will be fit to kind of shield that back four. But it will be a very interesting game. Wesley Schneider also plays for Galatasaray, so there will be some pretty interesting matchups. And the boy.
Okay. First of all, I think Chelsea are going to give Galatasaray some good respect. because of DJ Drogba to start with, and of course Roberto Mancini. The thing about Mancini, there's something wrong about him in the Champions League. There's nothing about Mancini in the Champions League, but you never know what happens. But I'm sure Mourinho knows who Didier is. Mourinho knows what Wesley did when he was playing under him. He might not be the Wesley Sneijder of yesteryears, but I think he's still a good player that can cause 1 or 2 problems. Chelsea have got to go out, I think, for me, and try and force the issue rather than waiting for Galatasaray.
Chelsea Galatasaray is on Wednesday, the same day that Schalke will host Real Madrid. Like I said, tomorrow it's Olympiacos against Manchester United, as Zenit will host Dortmund. As we wrap up, Ndiamhachi Emanzi says, Steven says he's only a player at Falcons, but at one point I thought he was Gadeteu's boss. That's Ndiamhachi Emanzi.
Anyway, we need to wrap this up. I felt sorry for God. I felt sorry for God.